London Bridge. There's been a bridge across the River Thames in London for nearly 2,000 years. The first London Bridge was built by the Romans in 43 AD. They built a temporary pontoon bridge which was planks laid across a row of anchored boats. In 1014, when the Danes held London, the Saxons under King Ethelred the Unready were joined by a group of Vikings from Norway led by the King Olaf. Together, they set sail up the River Thames to attack the bridge to divide the Danish forces who held both the walled city of London as well as Southwark. King Olaf's idea was to build rafts on top of them with thatched roofs nicked from local houses. His guardsmen consequently wrapped cables around the bridge piles, then rowed off fast, weakening the bridge and possibly even pulling it down. King Ethelred the Unready ruled for more 2 years until his death in 1016. By the way, there was a chapel called Chapel of St. Thomas on the bridge, referring to Thomas Becket, who was Archbishop of Canterbury from 1162 until his murder in 1170. It became a starting point for the pilgrimage to Canterbury. The chapel was converted into a house in 1538 during the dissolution of monasteries, which was a policy introduced in 1536 by King Henry VIII to close down and repossess the lands and wealth of all monasteries in England and Wales. The strategy was planned as a profitable part of his reformation of the church. So from 1176 to 1209, the first stone bridge was built. Peter the Colechurch, also Peter of Colechurch, designed it, who had experience since he was responsible for the previous rebuilding in timber. It took 33 years to complete. He died before it was finished and was buried in the bridge chapel. Kentish Rackstone was chosen for its construction. It had 19 piers and 20 arches, with piers, those piers I was referring to, resting on boat-shaped starlings. The flow of the water was used to turn water wheels beneath the arches, in the beginning for grinding grain and, in 1580, to pump water into the city. People and merchants began building houses and shops on the sturdy stone bridge. It was soon entirely covered with buildings. In 1212, a catastrophe occurred when a crowd of people were trapped on the London Bridge between two fires. Many were burned to death. There was a stone gatehouse on the bridge, and on its roof stood poles where traitors' heads were placed. There were also shops and houses on the bridge. Yes, you heard right, shops and houses. 138 shops recorded in 1358 and over 200 by the Tudor period, and a public toilet even. Straight into the river, of course. Where else? In 1577, Nonsuch House was built to replace the drawbridge, stretching across the bridge with a tunnel running through its street level. The house had a framework of timber, part of which was shipped from Holland. Not a single nail was used in its construction. Nonsuch House was literally a 4-story palace that had no rival, hence Nonsuch. There were also royal processions. King Henry V, 1450, Catherine of Aragon, 1501, and King Charles II, 1660. There were numerous fires throughout the history. As several times before, fire struck the bridge again in 1623. It started when a servant left a bucket full of ashes under wooden stairs. Consequently, 43 houses were destroyed and many of the shops were also burned and severely damaged. Before long, the merchants began to relocate as the bridge was getting dilapidated. By the way, the nursery rhyme, London Bridge is falling down, has been hypothetically linked to several of the bridge's historic collapses. By 1657, all the houses were pulled down. The bridge was widened and partly rebuilt with the wide centre arch. The bridge stood like this for almost 2 centuries until 1831, when another new London Bridge was opened by King William IV and Queen Adelaide. This bridge was built out of granite, which was quarried from Dartmoor National Park. It was a structure of 5 arches, and its overall dimensions were 283 meters long and 15 meters wide. It was a busy bridge right away, and even more so when the railways came to London and London Bridge Station opened just south of London Bridge. Soon a new bridge user, the commuter, joined the bridge's traffic, and thousands crossed Sir British engineer John Rennie's bridge every day and became its most familiar sight. Driving on the left was introduced in 1722, where Lord Mayor issued the first Keep Driving Left legislation. From 1757 to 62, there was a removal of buildings and a bridge makeover. Tolls were abolished in 1782. From 1902 till 04, it was widened by means of corbels, increasing the space between the parapets to 20 meters and the footpath to 4.5 meters. In 1962, it was discovered that the London Bridge was literally falling down, sinking into the Thames since it was not suitable for the ever-increasing traffic. The City of London decided to put a roughly 130-year-old bridge up for auction and construct a new one in its place. Robert P. McCulloch, who was a US-American entrepreneur from Missouri, offered a winning bid for $2,460,000 in 1968. He spent another $7 million to move the London Bridge to Lake Havasu City, which took a total of 3 years. The bridge was shipped by boat 16,000 kilometers to Long Beach, California. From there, it was transported by trucks to Lake Havasu City, where it was kept in a 7-acre fenced storage compound. On September 23, 1968, Lord Mayor of London, Sir Gilbert Inglefield, laid a cornerstone. Robert Bursfold, a civil engineer for Nottingham, England, was in charge of the reconstruction of the London Bridge in Lake Havasu City. As a guideline, he had a copy of the original plans drawn by John Rennie himself. It was discovered whilst dismantling the bridge that there were code numbers marked on each stone when it was originally built. Rennie must have used the same system which was now used by the team. The construction of a new bridge over the River Thames overlapped with the dismantling of the old London Bridge. The current London Bridge was designed by architect Lord Holford and engineers Mott, Hay and Anderson. It was constructed by contractors John Mowlem and Co. from 1967 to 1972 and opened by Queen Elizabeth II on the 17th of March 1973. It is a so-called box girder bridge built from concrete and steel. Total length is 269 meters, the width is 32 meters, and the longest span is 104 meters. The clearance below is 8.9 meters. This modern bridge is owned and maintained by Bridge House Estates, an independent charity of medieval origin overseen by the City of London Corporation. It carries the A3 road, which is maintained by the Greater London Authority. There are also alcoves that survive in Victoria Park as well as Guy's Hospital, King's College London Guy's campus. The nearest London Underground stations are Monument at the northern end of the bridge and London Bridge at the southern end. London Bridge Station is also served by National Rail. Alright, that's it for today. I appreciate you watching this video. Please do not forget to subscribe and like the videos and share with your friends. Cheerio!